Hello. Before we jump into this interview, you should know there are hundreds of episodes of Synchronicity, and a lot of them are already posted here on this channel. So if you enjoy this talk, subscribe to this channel because there is a new interview that comes out every Monday. I'd love it if you join my community, so here's a little more information about that. To join my community, just go to mariebenard.com and sign up for my mailing list where you'll hear the show and get updates with greats like Neil Donald Walsh, Dr. Bernie Siegel, and Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I want to know what you think of this show. So if you're liking it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you don't, feel free to give it a thumbs down. That's okay. Post your comments below and let me know what you think. I want to create shows that help you and change your life. So if you can let me know what you're struggling with or what are some of the topics that you want to see on the show, that would really help me because I am so blessed to speak every week with some of the top thought leaders on the planet. And if I don't know what you want me to ask them, then I'm just going to ask them what I think is the best question. So leave your comments below if you have any feedback, and it's a great way for all of us to learn. Thanks so much and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Synchronicity Talk Radio for your mind, body, and soul. I'm your host, Marie Benard, and today we are speaking with Leslie Shore. She is the author of the book Listen to Succeed, and she also has a company called Listen to Succeed. As a speaker, professor, and author, she works with corporations, nonprofits, entrepreneurs, and educational institutions in the development of interpersonal communication skills through workshops, facilitation, and training in listening, communication, and cultural generational diversity. And today we're going to be talking about social media etiquette, and what perfect timing, Leslie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Marie.
So how do you deal with social media etiquette in the company that you run?
Well, there are so many different perspectives here. I just did an over-the-phone hour with a company down in Louisiana that was dealing with the fact that there's a lot of use of social media amongst their real estate brokers, and the younger brokers just seemingly didn't have an understanding about what was okay and what was not, in terms of what they were doing and using and how they were being on social media for the company and also on their personal social media, because that obviously gets seen as something important because you're an ambassador of the business that you work for. Mm. So they were looking at some generational issues because our younger generations have grown up with social media in one way or another. And so they're very comfortable with letting it all hang out, so to speak. But these platforms have a memory and nothing goes away. And so it's something that needs to have a little bit more thought process before hitting send, before hitting post.
So, Leslie, when we talk about social media, are you also including email or just the Facebook, Twitter stuff that's out there for thousands of people to see?
When I really am talking about the things that are out there for thousands of people to see. However, 99% of what I'm talking about also applies to think before you send in terms of email, because what ties them both together is that there's no body language, there's no facial expression, there's no tone of voice that you can see, react to, or gain information from.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I notice as well. I mean, it's, first of all, with social media or email, if we react right away, that can be dangerous. And in addition, whatever the mood of the reader is at the time they see that message is how they're going to interpret it. So someone could say something perfectly nice. I actually had this just happen this morning. I had forwarded this little message on Facebook that I thought was so beautiful and was excited to share it with everyone. And someone messaged me back and they were insulted and they said, I do not accept this. And they sent it back. And I was like, okay. Even that, so simple and with the intent on my end of being a happy and loving thing to send was interpreted as insulting.
And this is really part of the issue of it not being face to face or voice to voice. Because if they heard your voice saying that, they would take it exactly the way you meant it. But the stark black and white of words on a page really doesn't allow for that. And the reality is that we all grow up differently. We all have different histories and experience. And so words, there are certain words that may hit us just totally wrong that someone wouldn't even know about. And if you were there face to face, you would see that change in what their expression was. Or if it was even on the phone, voice to voice, you would hear the fact that there's a huge pause. And you might be able to say, hey, did I say something that didn't hit you right? And you'd be able to clean it up immediately. But in social media, you can't.
Thank you, Leslie. That's so true. I had that problem actually when I first started dating the guy that I'm with. And it wasn't, I mean, it was partly social media. It was partly me being a complete wreck at the time. But I would get upset and then I would send him 3 paragraphs of why I was upset. And he was on the receiving end of that. And if we were in person and I had said one sentence to him and saw the frown on his face and saw his body language change, I, like you said, I could repair that. But then I'm just like, and another thing, and ba-da-da-da. And then it's like his soul is crushed by the end of reading my message.
And we have to be, it's funny, we have to be so careful about what we put into these treatises that we're writing that is so important for us to get out, but there are times where we don't think about the fact that we just need to vent and then what really does need to be said.
That's a good point. So, Leslie, do you have a list of tips that you give your clients, or what action steps can we take?
Okay, so first, if someone posts or even emails, don't respond out of emotion. Please take time to process, reflect, and then think through what it is you're going to say. Because if you actually respond out of emotion, what begins to happen is things get escalated, they get out of control, and something that you could have either have totally left alone or posted something non-committal or neutral now has turned into a flame war. So if you get emotional, unless it's really happy, just make sure that you're coming back as a critical thinker, not as an emotional responder. And then the next thing, and this I think is really important, remember who your friends are. Remember who your family is. Because what seems to be happening is that everybody in the world, including what I call your A-ring of people, your family and your best friends, everyone's finding out everything at the same time. And some of these big things in life, getting engaged, or we just found out we're pregnant, or I just got this new fabulous job. If everybody finds out at once, your families and best friends pretty much figure that, gosh, I guess I didn't rate getting a telephone call or even a special email that let them know before the whole world did what the great news is. And then the other thing is be very careful in terms of the other part of it, which is posting photos. You don't want your friends or your family to be embarrassed by anything that you post. That is not a great thing for family togetherness, shall we say?
So can you say more about that? Do you mean posting pictures of people you care about, or posting pictures that of yourself that might reflect poorly on other people?
Actually, it's a combination of the two. When you take pictures at, let's say, Thanksgiving or Christmas time or New Year's, and you have a really, really funny picture, and you post it, and your friends pick it up, and they look like they're three sheets to the wind, maybe it wasn't such a good idea to post that particular picture. Because again, this internet, this social media thing has a memory. And if you even tag your photos, then all of a sudden they end up being tagged and found by someone. Maybe they're looking at getting a job at a particular place, and there's this photo out there. So be careful. Be careful with what you do with these things.
So, Leslie, that brings up actually a question about just how we now these days have no privacy. I mean, there are cameras in public, there are cameras on transit, wherever you go. Everything you say and do is being recorded, either audibly or on video. So, as an extension of that, should we be censoring? I mean, if I'm at a party and someone is taking pictures, automatically I'm at risk of being exposed for anything that I do and say. I mean, all of these people, we see these famous people who have been intoxicated or very angry and have said some nasty things in the heat of the moment that they probably don't even really believe it was out of anger. But now it's coming back on them because they said it and it was recorded.
Correct. And this is the wonderful thing about social media is that you can take a wonderful video of people having a good time or a gorgeous sunset or whatever and post it, and everyone can enjoy that. But the dark side of that is people who don't have the critical thinking and respect for the people that they have just videoed in terms of whether or not it should be posted or deleted. And because we're not in control of that, it kind of puts you into a situation of, oh, I guess at this party I better take care of what's going on here. Or if I see a cell phone getting whipped out, I'm just going to play it neutral. And it's a tough situation now for anyone who goes to a party and kind of wants to let their hair down and all that kind of stuff. That can be dangerous if someone has a smartphone in their hand and starts taking video.
So, Leslie, I'm curious, how has this affected your behavior and your ability to be relaxed and yourself?
Well, fortunately, I'm not one of those people that puts a lampshade on their head when it comes to having a party. But I am definitely someone who's pretty circumspect about their behavior in any situation. But I will say to someone, if they're pulling out their smartphone, I will say to them, hey, could you hold off on that, because folks are really having a good time, and you're just going to put a damper if all of a sudden they have to either straighten up or get crazy, depending on what the situation is, because you're running a video. But you know, Maria, I think there are times where people will just do what they're going to do, and I think that's why we just have to be really aware of our surroundings and be observational about what is happening as best we can.
Especially coming up to the holidays, I know there are going to be a lot of parties, there's going to be a lot of alcohol, and in addition, people, because of the stress of the holidays or the discomfort of being around people that they might not surround themselves with at other times, people do have a tendency to drink a little more than they might normally in order to try and comfort themselves. So
Right.
it is worrisome.
It's quite worrisome, and I think part of the, it's almost like before social media, all we had to think about is how is it going to look to the people who were in the room. And so it was a much smaller group to deal with, and you could make decisions based on that. And now, as we have seen, social media has blown up completely, and this past political season has shown just how much damage it can do. We just have to be aware that with the good stuff that social media brings, we have to realize that whether it's the holidays or not, it's still really, really important to pay attention to what is going on and what your behavior is.
Mm-hmm. So what tips do you have for people? Like for myself, I have a YouTube channel, and YouTube is very well known for trolls. And if anyone doesn't know what a troll is, it's someone who intentionally goes on the internet to try and upset people for entertainment. So how do you respond to people who are making, let's say, negative comments or comments that may or may not be intended to get a reaction? How do you respond to those?
Sometimes you don't. And this is what I try and tell folks, that when you can tell that that is what is happening, that the way they are getting their kicks is to comment negatively on anything that they see to see if they get a reaction. What happens is if you don't react at all, that ember dies and they don't ever bother coming back to your YouTube video or your channel, whatever, because they can't get you to engage with them. So for them, it's a waste of time to come back and try again and again and again. So many times, if there's something there that really does not deserve a response, I won't respond at all. And most people who would be looking at that would say, boy, she is so smart for not responding, because it would just get worse and worse and worse. It's just like in a regular argument, Marie, where if someone says something and it's really out there, your best thing to do is say nothing and let that person really think about what they just said and give them a chance to reframe it or rephrase it, or, as they say, have a do-over. And in social media, in this particular case, sometimes the best thing to do is not to do. Now, if they're attacking dignity or someone else's dignity, I think that you can have a stock answer, which is this kind of response is not appreciated on my site. And just as simple as that. Because sometimes you do want to respond to let other people who are looking saying this is not appropriate and I don't want this to continue in this manner.
Thank you, Leslie. And what about for people who, I mean, with Facebook especially, I notice that I'll post some quote or something and some people will love it and other people will not like it, and then inevitably there's always someone who maybe is depressed or having a bad day who will post some kind of, my interpretation is it's an attention-seeking comment, and a lot of the times I don't know how to respond because I know this person, I know that's their MO for getting attention, so I don't want to feed into it. Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, other people are watching, so I don't want to appear like I don't care. But they don't know the history of why this person posts comments like that. So what do you do in that situation?
Well, I guess it's a really good question to think about. What is it that you personally are trying to do? because if you make it more about what other people are thinking about what your post might be as a result of this other person posting, then we get into what is called the drama triangle. And that is a situation where it's a three-cornered hat, where no one actually learns or gets what they need from the conversation or from commenting back and forth. I think when people don't know what the situation is, and they may be looking at that Facebook page, then maybe the best thing to do is be able to say, hey, let's take this offline. I think there's something that we need to discuss. Let's take it offline. Again, to me, it's more like, let's not have dirty laundry out there. And if someone is posting, and it is, even if it's their own dirty laundry, it's kind of a nice thing for you to be able to say, let's take it offline, because it stops them from airing something that in the end run they will probably regret.
Oh, there's so much to manage. It's like you've got to manage yourself and then manage what other people post, and there's a lot going on.
The thing is, though, that you can't manage what other people post. You can only manage yourself and your reaction to it. And that is why it is really important that you model the behavior you want other people to see. So in your own Facebook, in your tweets, in your emails, in your Snapchats, in your Instagram, model the behavior you want other people to approach or to be like, because that's who you are. That's your reputation. That's your way of being. And the way to bring people up to that level is to continually model it, and know that you really only can be responsible for what you post, because we don't have control, as we know, over anybody else. Anytime we think that, we kind of get told the opposite.
All right, Leslie. Well, I know that you have a busy evening ahead of you, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but inevitably, maybe not for you because you have so much practice with this, but for other people like that are pretty emotional like me, inevitably there's going to be something out there either that we regret or that somebody somewhere has taken the wrong way. Once that's out there, what do we do to deal with that situation?
Well, if it's on your own Facebook page, you have the ability to kind of decide whether you're going to moderate or let these posts just come in. If someone's reacting poorly to something that you've posted, there's a couple of things you can do. And that is, and they've posted back to you, you can say, you know something, I think that what I said was taken differently than the way I meant it. Hey, let's take this offline and clean it up. Again, you're not engaging online on Facebook. Even, you're saying, hey, I'm kind of apologizing here, without saying that you're apologizing, but that you did not mean it the way it looks like they took it. But let's clean it up offline, because that's that whole thing of the not only the airing of the dirty laundry, but actually resolving it. People don't need to see all of this happening online.
Thank you, Leslie. And before we wrap up, what do you think is the most important thing? What do you want to leave us with today?
Two things. Who you are online, people are going to assume is who you are in person. And so if you are online and in social media the way you are in person, you're in great shape. I think it is crucially important because of the lack of body language, facial expression, and voice tone. The lack of that in social media requires us to be a more critical thinker and writer and understand that what we say in print will remain in print for people to read and mull over and decide that something means something that you did not want it to mean. So be careful. Pay attention. Put your best foot forward and realize that social media has a long memory, and you want people's memory of you to be about who you truly are. So kind of make sure that what you put out there is something that you want out there, and that if your grandmother saw it, she wouldn't have any problem at all seeing it or reading it, because it is who you are.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. We've been speaking with Leslie Shore, and you can find Leslie at listentosucceed.com. Yeah, I'll just edit out the I'll make a little extra for it as well. So thank you so much for your time, Leslie. I'm so sorry about the scheduling mishap. It was totally my mistake. So thank you so much for your patience.
Please do not worry about it. Stuff happens. And if we want to do another half an hour or something at a later date, you've got this number now, and we can get it squared away with no problem.
All right. Well, I'll let you get on with your day. And thank you so much again. Happy holidays if I don't speak with you before then.
And right back at you.
Thanks, Leslie. Take care.
All right.
All right.
Too.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was Leslie Shore. Leslie is the author of Listen to Succeed, and you can find her at listentosucceed.com.